April 12th, 1965, Eastern Laos, 4:58 a.m. The jungle is still black when Captain William Harper feels the aircraft drop. Not turbulence, controlled descent. The U-2 spy plane tilts slightly, slipping beneath a thin layer of cloud as dawn begins to stain the horizon gray. Inside the cockpit, the air is thin and cold, the pressure suit stiff against his shoulders. Harper has flown reconnaissance missions before. China, Cuba, Eastern Europe. This one feels different. Below him, the Annamite Mountains stretch like a broken spine, ridges folding into one another, valleys drowned in shadow. No cities, no lights, just jungle. Endless, suffocating jungle. Or at least, that's what the maps say. Harper adjusts the camera array. The lenses hum softly as they spin up, mechanical eyes peering into terrain most men will never see. He checks his instruments, then glances at the coordinates taped beside the altimeter. Suspected infiltration corridor. The phrase is intentionally vague. Washington doesn't yet want to admit what this mission might confirm. The aircraft stabilizes. The cameras begin to click. Thousands of feet below, the jungle moves. Not leaves. Men. Harper doesn't see them directly, not yet. But the film does. Faint lines cut into hillsides. Patterns too straight to be natural. Clearings that shouldn't exist. Scars in the forest that follow logic, not randomness. He makes another pass. This time he notices something else. Smoke. Not the chaotic plume of a fire, but thin, disciplined strands rising through canopy gaps, dispersed carefully so they vanish within meters. Someone has learned how to cook without being seen. Harper radios in his position, voice clipped, professional. Recon 1 to base. Possible traffic observed. Repeating, possible sustained ground movement. There's a pause. Then, acknowledgement. That's it. No questions. But Harper already knows. This isn't a trail. This is a system. By midday, the film is in the hands of intelligence analysts in Saigon. By evening, it's on a table under harsh lights, surrounded by men who stop talking the moment the images are laid out. Colonel James Ellsworth, U.S. Army Intelligence, leans in close. He has spent years tracking Viet Cong movement, counting weapons, estimating manpower, measuring infiltration in fragments and probabilities. This is different. He points to a photograph. That's not foot traffic, he says quietly. That's logistics. The image shows a narrow road carved into a hillside, not wide enough for trucks yet, but reinforced with timber. Nearby, a cluster of shapes arranged with unnatural symmetry. Supply caches, camouflage netting, staging areas. Ellsworth flips to the next frame. And the next, the pattern repeats, again and again. Within days, the scope becomes undeniable. The route doesn't run straight. It branches, splits, rejoins. It bypasses bombed areas, loops around choke points, dives into valleys when aircraft appear overhead, disappears beneath tree cover so thick it might as well be underground. The analysts stop calling it a trail. They start calling it a network. In Washington, the briefing room is silent. A projector hums as images from Laos and Cambodia flash across the screen. Lines appear, overlays marking paths, storage sites, river crossings. Each marker represents men, weapons, food, fuel, time. A civilian analyst clears his throat. This network allows North Vietnam to move entire units south, he says. Not just fighters, supplies, heavy equipment, replacement personnel. A general interrupts. How long can they sustain this? The analyst hesitates. Indefinitely, sir, if the network remains intact. That word lands heavily. Indefinitely. The room shifts. This war was supposed to be about thresholds, about pressure, attrition, breaking points. Bomb the North hard enough, interdict supply, forced negotiations. But the images say something else. They say the enemy has planned for endurance. Back in the jungle, the trail keeps moving. Porters carry crates strapped to bamboo frames. Bicycles reinforced with wooden braces haul loads heavier than any rider. Trucks move at night, engines muffled, headlights masked. When roads are bombed, they are repaired within hours. When bridges fall, pontoon crossings appear overnight. When areas are saturated with explosives, traffic simply shifts. Nothing stops. It adapts. By late 1965, American planners begin to understand the implications. Every Viet Cong unit destroyed in the South can be replaced. Every offensive absorbed, every loss replenished. As long as the trail lives, the war does not end. It resets. Ellsworth writes in a classified assessment that will not be made public for decades. We are not fighting an enemy that needs to win quickly. We are fighting an enemy that only needs to survive. The Ho Chi Minh Trail has not fired a shot. But in quiet rooms, far from the jungle, it has already changed the war. And soon, the United States will try, desperately, to destroy something that cannot be bombed into submission. June 3, 1965, Saigon, 9 to 12 p.m. Rain drums against the windows of the Mass CV headquarters, turning the city below into a blur of reflected lights and movement. Inside a secured room on the second floor, a map of Indochina covers an entire wall. It has grown crowded. Red grease pencil lines snake south from Hanoi, splintering across Laos, dipping into Cambodia, then re-emerging inside South Vietnam like veins feeding a living body. New markings appear almost daily. Bridges, depots, river crossings, repair sites. Colonel James Ellsworth stands with his arms folded, staring at it. "What you're looking at," he says to the officers gathered behind him, "is not a supply route." He taps the map. It's a logistics doctrine. Signals intelligence confirms what the photographs suggest. Radio traffic spikes along sections of the trail immediately after American bombing runs. Not panic, coordination. Requests for repair crews, rerouting instructions, inventory checks, captured documents tell the same story. Units rotate along the trail in shifts, some moving south, others returning north, wounded or exhausted. Way stations provide food, medical care, rest. Entire villages exist solely to support movement. One report describes a section rebuilt 17 times in a single month. Bombs fall, traffic pauses, bombs stop, traffic resumes. In Washington, the debate sharpens. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara studies charts showing sortie numbers climbing rapidly. Hundreds, then thousands of bombing missions over Laos and the trail network. The tonnage dropped is staggering, and yet, enemy strength in the South remains steady. Sometimes it increases. How is this possible? A senator asks during a closed-door briefing. An intelligence officer answers carefully. They are not dependent on speed. They are dependent on continuity. The Ho Chi Minh Trail is not designed to be efficient. It is designed to be resilient. It does not rely on one road, but hundreds. It does not require vehicles, but allows them. When trucks are destroyed, bicycles take over. When bicycles fail, porters move supplies by hand. A single porter can carry nearly 100 pounds. 10 porters replace a truck. 10 trucks destroyed mean nothing if the trail still breathes. By late 1965, the U.S. Air Force launches Operation Steel Tiger, followed by Tiger Hound, massive efforts to interdict the trail using sustained bombing, sensors, and aerial surveillance. Pilots fly low and dangerous missions, searching for movement beneath the canopy. They see flashes, dust, sometimes fire. They drop bombs. They report success. But when ground units engage weeks later, the enemy is there, armed, organized, reinforced. The disconnect grows impossible to ignore. A CIA analyst writes a memo that circulates quietly through intelligence channels. We are measuring destruction. They are measuring persistence. The problem is geography. Laos is officially neutral. Cambodia, too. The trail exploits borders the United States cannot openly cross without expanding the war politically. Bombing is permitted, but only to a point. North Vietnam knows this. They build accordingly. Storage sites are spaced just far enough apart that losing one does not cripple the flow. Critical junctions are hidden under triple canopy. Roads zigzag to absorb blast effects. Anti-aircraft guns appear along key segments, forcing American aircraft higher, reducing accuracy. The trail begins to fight back. In the jungle, a young North Vietnamese logistics officer named Tran Minh Duc oversees a repair crew after a bombing raid. The road is cratered, trees are burning, but the men move quickly, methodically. They don't talk about the bombs, they talk about time. How long until movement resumes? He asks. 6 hours, someone answers. 4, another says. Duc nods. Make it 4. Back in Saigon, Ellsworth reads casualty estimates again. The numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the truth either. Yes, the enemy is taking losses, but those losses are being replaced. And replacement means something terrifying. It means North Vietnam is not fighting to avoid casualties. It is fighting to absorb them. In December 1965, a classified assessment reaches the Joint Chiefs. It is blunt. The Ho Chi Minh Trail ensures that the enemy can choose the duration of the war. As long as it functions, decisive victory is unlikely. The word unlikely is a compromise. The truth is harsher. The realization spreads slowly, too slowly. This war will not be won by attrition alone. Not by bombing, not by kill ratios, not by firepower. Because the enemy has built something that turns time into a weapon. Every month the trail survives, American costs rise. Every year, domestic pressure grows. Every delay favors the side willing to wait. Ellsworth stands alone in the briefing room long after the others leave. He looks again at the map, at the red lines, at the branches that refuse to end. This is when it hits him, not as an analyst, but as a soldier. The United States is not fighting a war of movement. It is fighting a war of logistics. And logistics, once entrenched, are almost impossible to destroy quickly. Somewhere in the jungle, the trail continues to move. Quietly, patiently, endlessly. And with every crate carried south, the clock ticks louder. Not for Hanoi, for Washington. February 14th, 1966, Eastern Laos, 5:06 a.m. The jungle is soaked. Mist clings to the canopy, turning every sound into a whisper. Somewhere below, hidden beneath layers of leaves and mud, a line of men moves south in single file. No engines, no lights. Just the soft scrape of sandals against wet earth. A young porter shifts the weight of a rice sack on his shoulders. He does not know where it came from. He does not know where it will end. He only knows the direction. South. By early 1966, American intelligence no longer argues about whether the Ho Chi Minh Trail exists. That battle is over. Now the argument is about what it means. In Washington, briefings grow longer and more uncomfortable. Charts show enemy losses climbing. Bombing tonnage increases month by month. Yet infiltration estimates refuse to fall. In some sectors, they rise. How many men can they really move? One official asks. The answer comes back quietly. As many as they need. The trail is no longer treated as a road. It is treated as a system, one that converts labor into momentum. North Vietnam mobilizes entire provinces to support it. Teenagers dig roads. Elderly villagers cook rice. Women repair bridges under camouflage nets hours after bombs fall. Everything is replaceable, except time. And they have plenty of it. American planners begin to understand the asymmetry too late. The United States must justify every dollar, every casualty, every escalation to a public half a world away. North Vietnam answers only to survival. They do not need to win quickly. They only need to not lose. Operation after operation is launched to sever the trail. Air interdiction campaigns expand. New sensors are dropped, acoustic devices disguised as plants, seismic detectors buried along paths, infrared scanners searching for warm engines at night. The technology is impressive. So are the reports. Targets destroyed, movement detected, success claimed. But on the ground, the enemy adapts again. They move at night. They separate loads. They shut down engines miles before choke points and push trucks by hand. They trigger sensors deliberately, sending empty convoys to draw bombs while real supplies move elsewhere. The trail learns. A U.S. Air Force officer later admits, "We were fighting a thinking opponent with machines designed for predictable targets." In Saigon, Colonel Ellsworth attends another late-night briefing. This time, the language has changed. No one talks about victory anymore. They talk about containment, about raising the cost, about buying time. Ellsworth realizes the irony instantly. Time is the one thing the enemy can afford, and the one thing the United States cannot. By mid-1966, field commanders report a shift in enemy behavior. Viet Cong units are better supplied, more disciplined, more patient. They do not attack unless conditions are favorable. They disengage quickly. They retreat into terrain where pursuit is impossible. Every engagement feels deliberate, planned, connected to something larger. That something runs through Laos, through Cambodia, through jungle valleys no American infantry can permanently occupy. Through political boundaries, the war is not allowed to cross openly. The trail is protected not just by geography, but by diplomacy. Inside the Pentagon, a classified assessment lands on a desk with a red stamp across the top. Long War Projection. It outlines scenarios stretching not months, but years, 5, 10, more. The conclusion is carefully worded, but unmistakable. As long as North Vietnam retains logistical continuity, rapid resolution is improbable. Improbable, the polite word for impossible? Ellsworth writes a letter he never sends. In it, he admits what no press briefing ever will, that the enemy has solved the one problem the United States cannot: sustainment. They can lose battles and still advance. Lose men and still replace them. Lose roads and still move. The trail ensures it. In the jungle, Tran Minh Duc oversees another convoy. The men move faster now, more confident. They have learned something too. The bombs will come, but they will not come forever. Empires tire. Logistics endure. By the end of 1966, the Ho Chi Minh Trail is no longer just supplying a war. It is defining it. Every decision made in Washington now bends around a single reality. This war will not end on American timelines, because somewhere beneath the trees, beneath the maps, beneath the arguments, the enemy is still moving. And as long as the trail lives, the war does too. August 3rd, 1966. Washington, D.C. 9:11 a.m. The air inside the briefing room is stale. Cigarette smoke hangs low beneath fluorescent lights as senior officials lean over a wall-sized map of Southeast Asia. Red grease pencil marks trace bombing routes. Blue arrows point south. Numbers are circled, underlined, revised. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara listens without interrupting. The briefer's voice is confident. We are increasing interdiction effectiveness along key segments of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Truck losses are up. Storage areas destroyed. Enemy throughput should be declining. McNamara stares at the map. Should. That word again. Thousands of miles away, the trail is busier than ever. September 1966. Southern Laos. Midnight. A convoy waits beneath triple-layered camouflage netting. The trucks are old, Soviet Zills, Chinese-built copies, patched with scrap metal and hope. Engines are cold. Men sit silently in the dark, counting seconds between bombing runs. When the sound fades, hands rise, engines turn. The convoy moves, not fast, but steady. By late 1966, American commanders believe they are close to solving the trail problem. New strategies promise measurable progress. Bombing campaigns are renamed, rebranded, each with sharper metrics, better charts, more impressive acronyms. Operation Steel Tiger, Operation Tiger Hound, Operation Commando Hunt. Each claims success. Each produces data. Each fails to stop the flow. The problem is not detection, it is replacement. Every destroyed bridge is rebuilt overnight using bamboo and rope. Every crater becomes a bypass. Every dead truck is stripped and repurposed. Even bomb fragments are collected and melted down. Nothing is wasted. Everything feeds the system. American analysts begin to notice something deeply unsettling. The trail's capacity does not decline. It increases. Despite bombing, despite losses, despite escalation. The enemy is not merely absorbing punishment, he is using it to improve. In Saigon, Colonel Ellsworth attends a closed-door meeting with field commanders. The mood is tense. "We're hitting them harder than ever," one officer insists. "They can't keep this up." Ellsworth doesn't respond immediately. He remembers a report he read the night before. A Viet Cong battalion engaged near Pleiku. Better fed, better armed, more disciplined than units encountered a year earlier. Weapons arrived on time. Ammunition plentiful. Medical supplies intact, all traced back to the same place, the trail. What no one wants to say out loud is becoming clear. Bombing the trail is not strangling the enemy. It is shaping him, forcing him to decentralize, to harden, to innovate. In North Vietnam, planners welcome the pressure. It confirms their assumptions. They never believed the trail would be invulnerable. They only needed it to be resilient. And resilience thrives under stress. By early 1967, intelligence estimates quietly changed tone. Not the public ones, the classified ones. The language shifts from optimism to endurance, from progress to sustainability, from winning to managing. The realization creeps in slowly, like humidity. This war is not being fought on American terms. The United States measures success by sorties flown, tonnage dropped, targets destroyed. North Vietnam measures success by continuity. Is the trail open? Are units supplied? Can tomorrow be fought? If the answer is yes, then today was a victory. Ellsworth receives a memo marked Eyes Only. It outlines a projection based on current trends. Even with maximum bombing, even with expanded interdiction, enemy logistics will remain sufficient to sustain operations in South Vietnam for the foreseeable future. Foreseeable is not defined. It doesn't need to be. For the first time, Ellsworth considers something unthinkable, that the United States may be mistaking activity for control, motion for momentum, firepower for leverage. The trail does not respond to pressure the way industrial systems do. It does not collapse. It flows around obstacles, like water. On the ground, Tran Minh Juk watches a bridge disappear under bombs. By dawn, a footpath replaces it. By nightfall, supplies move again. By the next week, trucks follow. The bridge mattered, but not enough. The Ho Chi Minh Trail is no longer just a logistical route. It is a philosophy, distributed, redundant, patient. It embodies a kind of warfare America has never fought before. One where destruction does not equal denial, where progress does not move in straight lines, where time itself is weaponized. By the end of 1967, senior leaders privately acknowledge a truth they will not admit publicly. There is no decisive blow coming, no single operation, no technological breakthrough, no bombing campaign that will end this quickly. The trail ensures that. As long as it breathes, the war breathes. And somewhere beneath the canopy, beneath the arguments and statistics, men continue walking south. Not because they believe they will win tomorrow, but because they know. Tomorrow will come, January 12th, 1968. Langley, Virginia, 7:04 a.m. The snow outside CIA headquarters is undisturbed. Inside, analysts sit in silence, staring at a series of charts pinned to a corkboard. Lines move steadily upward. Enemy troop strength in the south, ammunition availability, replacement rates. One line refuses to bend, logistical throughput. The Ho Chi Minh Trail is not slowing. It is stabilizing. And stabilization, in a war of attrition, is everything. An analyst named Thomas Riley flips through satellite imagery taken just days earlier. Infrared photographs reveal warm signatures beneath forest canopy. Storage depots concealed underground, heat masked by thick foliage and decoy fires placed miles away. Riley exhales. They've solved our air war, he says quietly. No one contradicts him. By early 1968, U.S. intelligence no longer debates whether supplies are getting through. The question is how many and how fast. And the answers are deeply uncomfortable. Across Laos and Cambodia, the trail has evolved into something far beyond a supply line. It is now a system of systems, roads feeding roads, paths branching into shadows, units operating independently, yet coordinated by timing and discipline. No central hub to destroy, no single artery to sever. Cut one vein, 3 more compensate. This realization collides with something else. January 30th, 1968, South Vietnam. Just before dawn, the Tet Offensive explodes across the country. Cities erupt. Bases are hit. Coordinated attacks appear everywhere, simultaneously. For American intelligence, the implication is devastating. This level of synchronization requires planning, supply, movement, communication, all of it sustained through the very network they believed was weakening. Inside intelligence briefings, the trail is no longer discussed as a problem to be solved. It is discussed as a fact, immutable, persistent. Colonel Ellsworth attends a post-Tet assessment meeting in Saigon. Maps are littered with red markers, everyone representing an engagement that required ammunition, food, medical supplies, all delivered on time. Ellsworth feels something settle in his chest. Not fear, not anger, certainty. The war cannot be won quickly, not because American forces lack power, but because power is not the deciding factor. Time is. And the Ho Chi Minh Trail has given North Vietnam an unlimited supply of it. Back in Washington, conversations change tone. They become cautious, qualified. Strategic optimism gives way to conditional language. If trends continue, assuming enemy losses, provided interdiction improves. Privately, senior officials confront a hard truth. As long as North Vietnam can sustain the fight logistically, the United States cannot force a conclusion on its terms. Not without expanding the war, not without invading sanctuaries, not without costs that ripple far beyond Vietnam. The trail runs through neutral countries. Laos, Cambodia. Crossing those borders openly would shatter diplomatic constraints, escalate globally, invite consequences no one can fully predict. So the war settles into something else, a long contest of endurance. One side counting resources, the other counting days. In the jungle, Tran Minjuk hears about Tet weeks after it happens. The news travels by courier, by whispers. He smiles, not with joy, but with validation. The system worked. Years of walking, digging, rebuilding. Years of bombs avoided, absorbed, endured. It mattered. American pilots continue flying, bombs continue falling. But the tempo no longer carries expectation, only obligation. By mid-1968, the conclusion exists, even if no one dares say it publicly. The Ho Chi Minh Trail has removed urgency from North Vietnam's war, and urgency is the currency of victory. The United States can escalate, it can negotiate, it can withdraw, but it cannot force time to run out. This is the moment the war truly changes, not on a battlefield, not in a village, but in the minds of those who finally understand. This is not a war to be won fast. It is a war designed not to end.